What would it look like if BRICS made good on its word and rug pulled the reliance on the US dollar in mass, with a new currency backed by Bitcoin and precious metals? Today, we're going to do some speculation on what could be coming for Bitcoin as the technological arms race between the world's two top superpowers begins to heat up. My name's The Druth. Let's dig in. Since the advent of the very first block on the chain, Bitcoin maximalists have longed for their investments to take them for a ride to the moon. So far, there have been some thrilling moments, but nothing like the hopeful dream come true yet. Today, we are talking about the elusive $1 million Bitcoin, the big kahuna, to the moon and beyond, and how that could become a reality for the unlikely player that is actively seeking to change up the global financial markets. We are referring to a conglomeration of nations, currently accepting applications and rapidly growing BRICS+. Let's zoom in on why this contentious rival to the US dollar could be the linchpin erupting the price of Bitcoin into the biggest super cycle that's ever been seen, and making every maxi's dream come true. Picture this: just before two jumbo jets impaled the World Trade Centers in September of 2001, a top economist at Goldman Sachs in Manhattan made a prediction of a group of nations called BRICS, which included Russia, India, and China as its top members, would outpace the US and its allies in GDP growth and their dominance in world trade. This prediction was published in the article titled "Building Better Global Economic BRICS." Uncanny timing, to say the least. By 2003, the four countries called out in this prediction made up just 9% of the global GDP. Fast forward to 2009, and they were touting 14% of its figure and held the first BRICS summit in Russia. And just 1 year later, and accounting for the addition of South Africa to the roster, their numbers were up to 18% of the aggregate global GDP. The exact valuation amounting to around $11 trillion, and they hosted their second summit in Brasilia. This group has certainly been gaining momentum, and looking at today's numbers, with the addition of several prominent new members including Argentina, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates. They're edging closer to making up 32% of global GDP and have officially surpassed the G7 in global dominance, exactly as Jim O'Neill said in 2001 Manhattan. Now that we understand the density of the financial potential for this assembly of nations, let's turn the page and take a look at their objectives moving forward. The current scene is set. The US has realized an onslaught of political and financially destabilizing sanctions on Russia and China over recent years. At the most recent BRICS+ summit in August in Johannesburg, South Africa, the senior Russian diplomat Pavel, can't say your last name, not even gonna try, brother, I'm sorry, said that the organization is looking into developing a BRICS-specific currency that is backed by a diversified set of assets, drawing a connection line between this statement and others made by Russia and China, who are openly deliberating backing their national currencies with crypto assets. And suddenly, there are implications here that are truly heady for crypto communities. The dominant theme for BRICS summits has been the dialogue on global economics and finance, fostering the meeting of minds between ministers in charge of the area of finance and governors of central banks. It is fully transparent that crypto is on the tip of their tongues. Other major talking points for BRICS have been surrounding food security, agriculture, science and technology, and energy. Now that BRICS encompasses two of the world's largest exporters of oil and gas, as well as crucial trade choke points such as the Suez Canal, the Strait of Hormuz, and Bab al-Mandab Strait. Their imperatives are surely going to shape and widely impact the future of finance, but also just about everything else along with it. 84 countries in total have aligned themselves with BRICS, hence the big plus that has been added to their acronym. Together, they now account for over 40% of the world population and represent a large swath of the global south. These countries were slighted by the US dealings throughout COVID-19 crisis years, and 40% of global oil production, not to mention 75% of critical minerals and metals, are under their umbrella. Although these countries claim to not be anti-West and prefer the term Alterna West, that's really weird, their dealings are clear. Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva called for a common currency for investment and trade between BRICS nations at the most recent summit, and President Xi Jinping spoke of promoting the reform of international financial and monetary systems at the same time as Putin telling the congregation the objective irreversible process of de-dollarization of our economic ties is gaining momentum. It seems pretty obvious to any blockhead that crypto is a fluid solution for these objectives, with Bitcoin rising to the top as an ideal payment system that was essentially designed to fill this void. So now, let's get to the fun stuff. Let's just say BRICS decides to allocate just 25% of its GDP into Bitcoin as part of its overall backing of currencies. 25% of a conservative $85 trillion GDP for BRICS comes out to $21.25 trillion. Bitcoin's total market cap currently sits at $543 billion, with $21.2 trillion worth of Bitcoin being purchased. This would explode the price of Bitcoin to at least $1 million per coin. This would represent a 53,125% increase in the market capitalization of Bitcoin. This would also likely cause a frenzy among other investors. They would see the movement of BRICS nations as a major signal that Bitcoin is the world's most valuable asset, thus pushing Bitcoin even higher. It is difficult to say exactly how high the price of Bitcoin could go if BRICS nations purchase this much digital cheese, but one can assume these nations' purchases would be laddered OTC as to not make it blatantly obvious to the open markets that the Bitcoin supercycle has begun. Bitcoin would become a major reserve currency, forcibly displacing the US dollar as the world reserve currency, just as BRICS Plus intends to do so. My God. If this technological tea party excites you, if this digital revolution we're seeing unfold across the world gets your goat going, hit that like button if you love your freedom. I'll see you next week.